Finding reds for me is almost more exciting than actually catching them. And that all comes down to the electronics I use in my boat. I use the Simrad Evo series paired up with a 265 LHW, meaning a low, high, wide dual frequency transducer. And I've mounted this inner fairing block, which now gives me the ability to read at speed. I can travel fast and I can find fish wherever I'm going at any time. Currently doing 18 knots. And I've studied enough now to understand what I'm looking for at this speed, which is really good because it means we can zigzag around, cover a lot of ground really quickly, and hopefully find exactly what we're looking for in a new location, and that is targeting the red emperor. My starting point when searching for reds starts with the chart, not the sounder. So basically what I'm going to do on a new location is zoom out, look at the contours, look at the bathymetrical charts, and find ledges, lumps, whatever that chart detail shows us, and at least gives us a starting point on areas to work through, meaning it's discrepancies in the seabed. Never overlook the birds. They're our eyes in the sky. They know so much of what is happening below the water. Flocks of birds diving, feeding hard. I've got, oh, let's just go and try and catch a tuna for bait. What happens is that bait is actually aggregating on that area because there's some sort of structure that's bored there. What do they look like on the sounder? It is something that takes a while to really train your eye, but you'll start understanding certain returns and certain aspects that will just trigger the fact that you'll say, yes, that is an emperor or a nanagai spot. There's obviously isolated rocks, rubbly bottoms, fern coral, like a soft coral bottom. Once you understand what that structure looks like, targeting reds becomes very simple. We need to understand colours in the sounder. The return will come at a different colour. The lighter the colour, the softer the bottom, and this will start telling us whether we're on a sandy bottom, a mud bottom. When we say a coral bottom, a soft coral bottom, you'll get a mixture of lights with a bit of a haze above it. I guess one of the biggest common mistakes that people do interpret reds with is big rocks. They're looking for these great big pinnacles on the bottom. Generally, that is not a red mark. If we're in a 50 or 60 metre water column, we're zoomed in and we're looking at the bottom 5 metres of water, and there's a 2 metre rock. It's going to look massive on that 5 metre zone. That's the fault people start overlooking. They're trying to find these massive big bumps, but they're on full screen. They're looking at 60 metres. You're not going to find a 35 metre rock too often. If you are, generally it's going to be marked on your charts. What you're looking for is to be zoomed in on the bottom and a small rise with a small amount of life. That's a starting point, but the finishing point is knowing that there's life actually on that rock, on that ledge, whatever it might be. And that usually comes at speed in the form of a green haze. A bit of red and it's even better. And of course, at speed, this is going to be very minimal. As we turn around, we come back over that mark nice and slow. Everything is going to expand and look a lot more extensive. Once I've slowed down and positioned the boat, if I can see a return of active fish, meaning fish are moving up and down off the bottom, these come in the form of red lines. They don't just stay in one spot. You'll see them moving up through the water column and back down through the water column. That means these fish are active and they're looking for something to feed on. A lot of the time you can actually watch these fish swim up to your bait as your bait's dropping down. All this can be viewed on a 2D sounder if you have it set up right and you know what you're looking for. So let me talk you through a few of my personal settings. So we're going to start off with understanding the fact that we're running a split screen just here, and what that means is we're zoomed in on the bottom very closely on this side. At this point in time we are at 7 times magnification, and this side is actually showing us the entire water column. Not showing everything up very efficiently here because we're on dry land and we're not getting a true return. But having the split screen really helps defining fish that are tight to the bottom or a bit smaller in size that don't stand out so much, especially in the deep water that's showing up on the full zoomed out screen. We've got to look at what we're seeing here. What we see here is this brown bottom. Now that's a very handy feature on the Simrad sounders, and by coming into our more options, we come to palette. So being able to separate our little red arches off the bottom that's nice and tight by using the bottom colouring really saves us a lot of guesswork and makes things a lot easier. As for our colour palettes, this is really a personal preference, and I like to often use a black screen because it's easy to see in the daylight, and a lot of colours show up really well on that black background. We can come down through our other options, and these ones here are all very important. So I'm running a high frequency transducer in this particular case, which I also have the options to go to a low chirp, but high frequency for this shallower water. Then we talk gain. I personally like to be up and around that 62, 63 on the manual. Obviously you can use auto if that suits you better. Color is going to just enhance the brightness of everything. So that comes in again to personal preference. I'm using around that 75 mark. Seems to work a trick for me. But again, I change this stuff all on the fly. And then we go into our advanced and ping speed for me, which is how fast our transducer is actually returning. I run him at max. I increase my scroll speed up to about 5 times from normal. So factory settings, it'll be on normal, and you can see it's all slowed down now, but I like to run mine up around 4 or 5. Just helps you take a lot more or get a lot more information out of that picture. TVG is another gain setting. I have that set at 3, which is maximum on the Simrads, and noise rejection, I'll put it on low. Just helps keep the screen nice and clean. Don't be shy to play around with those settings. Of course, we've been through them all. Use them, play with them, tweak them, and if everything all turns bad, hit the factory reset button and you can start again.